we are at the home of Michael Maloney in Houston, Texas. The date is February 27th, 2016. How did you end up in the armed forces? Were you drafted or did you enlist, and why?
I graduated from college at Colgate University in 1970, in June. And that year, in January, they initiated the draft lottery system. It was felt that a lottery would be more fair because kids from privileged backgrounds were getting out of going to Vietnam, and the lottery system was designed to try to resolve that problem so that the burden of the war would be spread across all economic groups. My number in January of 1970 was 187. And no one had a clue what that meant, certainly not me, because no one had ever done the lottery before. As it turned out, in June when I graduated, a friend of mine whose number was 176, he got a draft notice. And so I knew that the same board where I was in New Haven, Connecticut, the draft board, would be getting to my number before the end of the year. So I ran down and enlisted in the Naval Reserve. And I did it because I did not want to be drafted, because if you were drafted, it meant you were likely going to be an enlisted man in an infantry unit in Vietnam. Everyone wanted a Navy and Coast Guard at that time, because that's how you would likely avoid going to Vietnam.
At any point, did you think about trying to avoid the draft another way?
No, they were not an option for me. I wasn't going to desert my country.
Okay, and what were your parents' response to your enlistment?
My dad and my grandfather, as you know, who had both been in the military. My grandfather had been a doughboy in World War I and had been machine gunned and mustard gassed on the Hindenburg line in Belgium. And my dad had been a P-47 and a P-51 pilot in the Italian campaign in World War II with the 8th Air Force. And he was shot down in a prisoner of war in a Stalag in Germany before he was liberated by Patton. So both of them were very proud that their son and grandson was now an officer in the Navy. My mother, she was somewhat pleased because she figured, like everybody else did, that officer in the Navy, you're going to sleep on clean sheets and you wouldn't have to go and be a ground pounder in an infantry unit in Vietnam.
Did you ever think before you were threatened, I guess, by the draft that you would join the military?
Never gave it a thought. It was difficult to make the transition from civilian life to military life because everything had to be precise.